Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Scoop. I'm your host, Frank Chaparro, editor-at-large at The Block. Well, I'm very excited about this episode because I need an escape from the slings and arrows of one Sam Bankman-Fried and the damage that he has done to crypto. There are real use cases in this industry for non-fungible tokens, the metaverse, etc. Today, joining us on the show are my guests. They're live in person in studio. David Broome, founder and CEO of Orange Comet, and the legend, 7-time NBA All-Star, 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and Basketball Hall of Famer, Frank Chaparro. Just kidding, Scottie Pippen. Thanks so much for joining us today, gentlemen. Today we're going to be discussing Scottie's newly announced NFT collection from Orange Comet, and we're going to be diving into why they created this collection, Scottie's personal connection to it, and a whole lot more. But first, Scottie's going to thank our sponsors. Just kidding. I'm going to thank our sponsors.
I got you. It's going to cost you.
Wobi, one of the world's leading virtual asset exchanges, has been providing convenient and professional virtual asset management services to more than 50 million users in more than 160 countries for nearly a decade. At Wobi, their mission is to make crypto accessible, to help you understand risks and make informed decisions to protect you and your assets. Learn more today at wobi.com. This episode is also brought to you by Ledn. From Bitcoin and USDC savings accounts to Bitcoin-backed loans, Ledn's financial services enable you to benefit from your holdings today without selling your Bitcoin. Learn more about Ledn at ledn.io. Ledn, where your digital assets come to life. All opinions expressed by hosts and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and not necessarily those of the blocks. Podcast guests may have taken positions in the assets or other matters discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions. For full terms, visit theblock.co/terms-service. Once again, I'd like to thank our guests for joining us in studio, Dave Broome, founder and CEO of Orange Comet and NBA All-Star, Scottie Pippen. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being on the show. Appreciate you being in studio. Let's just start with the news. Can you explain to our listeners a bit about the upcoming collection and the origin story? How did it all come together?
Yeah, I'll let Scottie talk a little bit about how he found the fascination in looking into the world of Web3 and NFTs, and I'll get you into a little bit more detail in the about the collection itself. But why don't you talk about your sneakers and your past?
What was it that you said before we turned on the mics? I asked you, what's the story with your sneakers? And you said, what about them? I go, well, they look cool. And you said,
everything looks cool on me. But yeah, this is something new for me to jump into Web3 and learn a little bit about the metaverse and just really find out, how I can fit into the space of NFT. And my agent, who also represents, my agency also represents Dave, William Morris. So just sit down with my agent and say, how do I go and get into the NFT? I was a big sneakerhead growing up in the NBA world. So this is my opportunity to really resurface back into the sneaker world, but do it from a digital standpoint. And I think I've joined hands with a great group and someone who I feel that is family because we're represented by the same agency.
I want you to go ahead, but I kind of almost want to talk about sneakers before we
Let's
talk
do
about
it, man.
Yeah, let's maybe walk through the history of why sneakers are so important to being an athlete, and then how that translates.
You want me to answer that, right? Not Scottie.
Well, you both can. I mean, we all can opine on it, but because it's less about sort of the technology and more about an object that sort of reflects a person or a brand. Yeah. And it's almost not that different, right? Like a digital sneaker.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
It's that's why this is natural, but I think Scottie will tell you too, and I'll tee him up for this. It is a little bit about the technology as a player for him, but it also is, to your point, a brand and what he represents. Scottie, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as a player, I represented a couple different shoe brands. First, I started out with Avia, my first 3 years in the league, and in the early 90s, I was able to get involved with Nike, and I still represent them to this day. But, the sneaker world for athletes and those of us who are been embraced by the sneaker world is something that we grew up embracing and wanting our own signature shoe. And I think as an athlete, that's sort of the mark of where you feel like you've really arrived as a player. It's when you're able to get your own signature shoe. And not only that, but, having an opportunity to be a part of some of the big sneaker giants out there like Nike, Adidas, now Under Armour. Back then there were Reebok, Avia. So to be able to be a part of one of those great shoe companies when I was growing up, that was the ultimate goal. I mean, really making the NBA, yes, but you want to add the gravy to it, you need a sneaker deal. And hey, I'm still here.
You had several sneaker deals.
Yes.
And it's no different. What makes a great sneaker in the real world should transfer over to what would make a great digital sneaker.
That's interesting. What do you mean by that?
Well, to me, first and foremost, it's design. Like what we're doing at Orange Comet is bringing a very high level of 3D digital design work led by our Chief Creative Officer, Dante Ferrarini, and our team. And you see a sneaker, unless you're a player, and Scottie needed that shoe to function properly for him on the court. And, I'm sure he'll talk about that. But as a fan, you're like, oh, shit, those things are sick. That's a dope-looking shoe.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's exactly how we feel it should be in the virtual world. That should appeal to you as a fan. You should get excited about what you're seeing. You should get engaged in something in Web3 that you go, man, that's fucking hot, and I want that.
So can you explain how Orange Comet facilitates sort of athletes dropping their own NFT collections?
Well, can I backstep a little bit on just the origin of the company? If that's okay. Maybe that'd be real good, and you can edit out what I'll try to make it as exciting as possible. I'll try to bring some hype to this. So, my background is in television and film. I started producing in the late 90s. I did music shows and award shows. I created The Biggest Loser, which was a weight loss series. I executive produced that for about 14 years. I've done thousands of hours of televisions. Sylvester Stallone and I put on Netflix's first unscripted show called Ultimate Beastmaster, which was an insane physical obstacle course.
When are we going to make the SBF movie?
We're there, man. We're ready to do it. Are you kidding me? I think I'm late in that game. That's the problem. There's probably 10 other producers who want to do it. Dante, in fact, did the graphics, the opening to all the graphics in Ultimate Beastmaster. But over the 25 years that I built out this company, we built a very high-end 3D digital design team and studio. And so when we started to look at the blockchain and Web3 technology several years ago, we saw an opportunity because I was looking and I said, I don't get it. Like, I don't know what the fuck are people really buying. And wasn't commenting really on someone's digital art as an artist. It's more about taking, to your point here, your question, someone like a Scottie Pippen, somebody that a brand, a piece of IP, a piece of talent, entertainment. So I looked at that stuff and I thought, remember the Gronkowski NFTs that got done? $1.6 million for something, no offense here, but looked like it was done in someone's garage. And I'm like, this just doesn't excite me, and I don't think it's the future of Web3. So what we decided to do is say, look, if we can bring Hollywood-style entertainment, storytelling, production into this space, what could we do?
Experiences, maybe.
That's right. And we'll talk about some of the real-world stuff with Scottie. So that's how we got into it. So we turned down many, many opportunities from talent because it's not real. It's not authentic. Having a legend, to work with a Scottie Pippen, well, if he only wanted to get into if he didn't want to get into Web3, but was looking at this as like, you know what? This isn't real. This is just, a bullshit quick money grab for me. It smelled bad, and we wouldn't want to do it. But taking someone like him, one of the greatest athletes ever played a game, and he's a passionate sneaker guy, and he's had his own line at Nike that's just is legendary in its own right. And now being able to bring that because he wants to learn about Web3, because he's enthusiastic about Web3, because he's caring about building a community around digital wearables, well, that checks all the boxes for us. And that's why we wanted to get involved with him, because we know that we could do phenomenal work. That's how we set up to do as a company. We just want to make sure we're doing it with the right partnerships that move the conversation in Web3 forward, because the blockchain technology is amazing, game-changing.
So what was your come to Jesus moment, Scottie, in terms of digital wearables? When did you realize that they might be just as important as real-life physical sneakers?
Well, I mean, just learning from the guys at Orange Comet and just educating myself really about the NFT world, and really just continue to try to figure it out and find a way to how I could fit in. And I felt like that, me being a player that really had a lot of sneakers growing up as a player, and I feel like this is an opportunity for me to resurface that, but do it on a digital level. And as I joked with these guys earlier, it would be a signature shoe, not like the up-tempo that I have with Nike.
Right.
So walk me through that, because I think this is super interesting. What's your decision-making process or your gut instinct when thinking about a physical sneaker brand with whom you want, or with which you want to partner? And then how is that similar or dissimilar from this more NFT realm?
Well, I think Dave said best. It's all the same.
Interesting.
You want something that's beautiful for people. Attraction is first what you want to see. But for me, as a player, it was all about the technology in the shoe. I explained to these guys early that when I played, Nike was really trying to promote the what they call the air bubble on the shoe. I'm sure you guys have seen it. And I was their statement level shoe guy. So I wore every shoe that Nike produced. I was their lead guy. Jordan had Jordan. I had everything that they could push out there. I mean, the Bulls was on TV 2-3 times a week. So every time a new shoe come out, they would try to get it to me. And that was a mistake I made during my career, is that those should have been signature shoes and not statement level shoes, because as today, those are not looked at as my shoes from a financial standpoint. But again, it's really all the same world. It's about performance. It's about look. And it's about the integrity of you as a person. I think what I did as a player on the basketball court has laid the foundation for me to really get into the NFT world.
So I'm not a sneaker expert, but I imagine I just got these On Clouds. They're a nice running shoe. But
Swedish company.
It's obvious even to someone who's not a sneakerhead to know, like, mechanically what makes for a good shoe. Comfortability. Very vague sort of adjectives, right? It fits well. It looks nice. What do you think? What are the characteristics for an NFT sneaker that make for a good one? Not from a aesthetic point of view, but more of like what it can do.
I'll tell you that. Well, there's a lot of things in this collection that we're doing. First of all, we've got 1,000 different NFTs in the sneaker line, in the Scottie Pippen SP33 line. Each one of them is a unique one of one. So everyone is going to have their own original one of one SP sneaker in an animated form, a 3D animation, which is, from a technical standpoint, from a production standpoint, and Dante would, tell you this from from a production, we're overseeing creativity. It's very difficult to create unique one-of-one animations. Anyone could really take, one-of-one static pictures and create that much, much easier. So first and foremost, one, we're only doing a limited line of 1,000 pieces. Secondly, there's real world utility. That's then the buzzword, right? That it's coming with this collection, meaning somebody is going to have a chance to actually do a hometown tour with Scottie in Arkansas. Go and he's going to take them around. Someone else is going to have the opportunity to play around and golf with them. That's pretty dope. But here's one of the really cool things. 33 of the 1,000 are going to come randomly with a real-world prototype, a sneaker, a real sneaker that they can collect, hold on to, and I promise I can't imagine that's not going to be a collector's item, that we would look to actually build out as a potential new line for Scottie in a new sneaker deal. So now imagine you're having an NFT that you've got a digital asset that's also coming along with a physical.
Dean, I'm going to need your help on this because I can't remember our conversation with the founder of MoonPay. What was the word that he used to describe this bridge between the digital?
Phygital.
Thank you, guys.
Phygital. So super cool, and now again you're blending both worlds. But there is one last real amazing purpose that these Scottie Pippen NFT sneakers are going to serve. They're going to be able to get used in many ecosystems in the gaming world. Meaning, you're going to be able to take your SP33 NFT sneaker and put it on your Roblox avatar. Put it on your Fortnite. Thank you, brother. Fortnite. You're going to be able to actually use this on Grand Theft Auto. So
how does that work? How does that interoperability work?
The way the interoperability works is that those games allow third-party assets to be incorporated and imported into their environment. And so the way we've built them, they have to be constructed from a technical standpoint to be able to do that. But there's real purpose and there's real meaning in that. And that's where Web3 becomes super exciting. Because now you're not just getting a collector to say, hey, these look great. These are cool, or they could be a great profile picture. There's a real purpose for somebody to have them as a collector, but they can bring them into the world of Web3 gaming, which, as you guys know, is a massive, massive opportunity. You're talking about projections of $80 billion in Web3 gaming.
I mean, this is something that we've talked about on this show multiple times, which is the fact that as human beings, we have this innate desire to express ourselves in multiple ways, to show our connections to the things that we care about, the things that we represent, and the things that we want to flex, as it were.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And that's true it spans everything that we do, right? What's the trite example I constantly use is the having a Ukrainian flag to in front of your house. I had a neighbor. I have a house in Sarasota. My neighbor, put out the flag. And how many people are going to actually see that? Only the folks who drive by the house, only the folks who maybe visit my neighbor, me, of course. That's why I'm talking about it. But the folks that interact with that person in the digital world are not going to see that unless they, of course, put the Ukrainian flag in their, bio or whatever have you. And I think what's so cool about this is sneakers. It's the same. I imagine back when when you were just getting started, hanging out with your friends or meeting people, like you'd see the sneakers that your colleagues were wearing, and something lights up, right? Like something connects. Like you understand a bit more about them. But up until now, there wasn't a way to translate that in a digital way. And so you can either look in someone's wallet or you can sort of see them wearing it in an in-game experience and know that they care about this brand or they represent this brand, or not to overstate it or to sort of hype you up too much, but it shows that they're cool, right? Or that they have an understanding of what's in vogue.
Well, look, everybody, Scotty will tell you this, and I want him to tell you this. You would look at a real world sneaker and you would want that shoe. And Scotty, talk, Scotty, about just what you were looking for when you wanted to design your line or get with Nike in the real world for a second. What was important to you back then, because it was a representation of who you are.
So basically what David's talking about, I mean, when I was with Nike, as I told you guys, they really promoted the air bubble. And it was something that was big coming out in the 90s. It was the shoe that's supposed to be, save you from pounding on the floor. Well, that shoe never fitted me. I turned my ankle on it a lot. I had ankle surgery on both ankles. So it was never a shoe that was really fitting for me. So I asked Nike to put me in the Zoom Air. But my shoes, when they go to retail, they had the air bubble in it. But the consumers never knew it. Well, these guys did their research and they found out about it. But as a player, I was always a Zoom Air guy. Well, you look at today's, LeBron carries that air bubble shoe, and it's perfect for him. He's pushed it, he's promoted, and he's been the leading candidate for Nike for a long time. But it's really because of the type of player that he is. He's not the player that I was. He's more bulky, heavier, so he needs that extra cushion, whereas I want to be more on the floor and utilize my speed and stuff in a different way. So,
and that made a statement.
Yeah.
That to your point, that made a statement for Scotty. It was a functional part of it, and it was also an aesthetic part of it. So now, in the world of Web3 and NFTs,
is there a parallel in the world of Web3 and NFTs? Was there something that you needed that reflected, obviously, maybe not your physical essence, but something else about you?
You mean for us the shoe?
For the digital shoe.
I mean, I just think a lot of it is about, the color wave.
The design.
I think, the design, the color wave. I think it's all fitting. But, I mean, Dante has done a great job of really putting so many ideals out there, so many great designs that it's exciting. It's exciting to know that that the digital footwear is coming, and it's new to me. So I'm excited to see how the fans are going to respond to it.
And just to your flag, analogy for a second, that is why Web3 is, and the digital world that we just live in without even Web3 is so exciting about taking these pieces and having them be a representation of who you are or what statement you want to make. Because your point, I would never see that flag unless I drive by your neighbor's house. But I go ahead and take a pair of Scottie Pippen sneakers and tout it to the world on my socials. It says something about me. It says something about my passion, my love for Scottie Pippen as a player, my admiration for him, and equally important is this the aesthetics. Remember something: the digital wearable space is going to be something that is going to be an area that all of us are going to have pieces on that we're going to want to show off. Gucci's in there, Prada's in there. By the way, Nike is in there. Nike bought a company called Artifact. They're now stepping aside and creating Dot Swoosh. That's a digital marketplace. Don't think for a second that doesn't make a massive statement. When Dot Swoosh comes on and creates a Web3 marketplace for digital sneakers, you bet your ass that this is where this stuff is going. It's right there. And what our goal and what we're hoping with Scotty is to appeal to the Web3 enthusiasts, crypto enthusiasts, NFT collectors, but also to appeal to his and everyone's general fan base, because we're looking to grow this space. We don't want to just keep it within someone who's got Web3 experience. We're looking to onboard. We did The Walking Dead. We have a multi-year partnership with AMC. We sold that project out. We're building a Web3 game, called the Walking Dead Lands. 70% of the fans, not fans, 70% of the buyers who bought into that project had never seen a second, not 1 second of an episode of The Walking Dead. But they thought that the work that Dante had done and our creative team had done was so sick, and saw that the project was a Web3 with some real purpose behind it, a game. They bought into it. But here's the better stat. The better stat is roughly 25% of the buyers in the Walking Dead project had never bought an NFT before. Their very first one. So we were able to take a general market fan base, much like what we're looking to do with Scottie's fans, and onboard them and educate them into what the blockchain is, what Web3 is about, and why there is more to it than just, the bullshit JPEG thing that you hear from people who don't know really what the hell they're talking about.
Well, if I'm sort of putting myself in the shoes, no pun intended, of some of those fans, I think back on I was early on Steppen, and I bought 4 or 5 sneakers, and now they're worthless.
I never liked that model.
That's a concern, right? Because it's like this. It's almost tied more to financial incentives than it is.
That's right. Listen, I can't tell you how many physical shows, more than just The Biggest Loser. I've done about 5 different major network shoes in the weight loss, fitness, healthcare space. I like the concept of Steppen, and I like somebody to put tech behind the NFTs and the Web3 component in many ways. But I could have told you from day one, incentivizing someone to try to get into shape. I don't care if it's in the real world, the virtual world, the bullshit world, whatever world you want to tell me. It will never work. That's not what incentivizes people. That's why when every single reality show, boy, we're getting off fucking topic here, but why every single reality show, when I created The Biggest Loser.
I feel like I'm Howard Stern right now.
That's good. Howard's a big reality fan. He was a big Biggest Loser fan. But every reality show was giving away $1 million prize, and we purposely said, you know what? That's not going to motivate someone to try to save their life. So Steppen, that's why we did only a $250,000 grand prize. But point is that Steppen model was probably flawed from the beginning. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're talking about lifestyle sneakers.
Without digressing too much, yes. So the difference here is like a sort of structure where you're incentivized to move. That's where they have that.
In Steppen.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sort of, move to earn model.
That's right.
And this is more of a,
this is a community.
It's a flex. It's a sort of, it's just like regular sneakers. But the question I'm saying is, or the question I'm asking rather is how do you sort of avoid a situation where people are just getting into it and generally with, a lot of collections to just make money?
You got to get out of the speculative game. That's what.
How do you get out of the speculative game?
By giving the product a real purpose, a real value proposition as a fan. Sure, I want all of the speculation of NFTs to be the secondary piece to what the bigger picture is, and the only way to do that is to make something hot as hell that somebody really wants as a fan, an emotional connection to what they're seeing. Let me tell you, there's no difference between an NFT, a good one or a bad NFT, and a good movie and a bad movie, or a good song and a bad song, or a good book and a bad book. We are a content creation entertainment company. We're looking at content in the Web3 space. That's the only way you make this not speculation. You make this when what I'm seeing emotionally moves me. When I see a Scottie Pippen NFT sneaker, I'm looking at that, I'm going, that's fucking dope. I want to buy that because A, I'm a fan. I think it's sick looking. B, there's utility. And C, and this is maybe the most important part of what we're talking about, is the community involved. The Bored Apes Yacht Club, one of the blue chip, obviously, NFT collections, the one thing that I really am admiring the most is not the artwork, in my opinion, but it's the community that they built around it. When someone buys a Scottie Pippen NFT sneaker, they're part of a group, and you cannot underestimate that in the world that we're living in. These social groups online are critical. And that's what Web3 does. So by owning one of his sneakers, it opens up future possibilities and opportunities to not just this collection, but how about if we were to surprise you with an airdrop? If you were to sit there and know that, hey, you own the sneaker, guess what you're finding in your wallet? A Scottie Pippen 33 digital jersey all of a sudden. Or a Scottie Pippen 33 digital basketball with his signature on it. That's where this stuff can really go. And that's because you're bringing value to the collection and not speculation. By the way, if it goes up in price, great, fantastic. But that should not be the primary reason why somebody's getting involved in a project, in my opinion.
But the gravy's not that bad.
The money?
Well, I don't know yet. Ultimately, I think if we build the right tool, then the gravy will be good.
What do you think has underpinned maybe one of your best physical sneaker deals and worst? Like, what sort of...
You saying what makes the best of the worst ones? Well, I feel like...
What has made the most successful deal for you in sneaker partnerships, and what has made the worst ones the worst ones?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say any of them was bad. I mean, I think anytime you are able to get a sneaker deal, I think it's a plus. You could probably count on your fingers and toes how many athletes have sneaker deals, even in the NBA. So I think it's a very unique thing, but I think as a player, you want to stay involved and feel that you were a part of that bill, and it's not just something that you're wearing, but you're part of it from day one, from the structure to how it feels, and just the type of leather. I mean, everything plays a huge role when you're designing.
Wobi, one of the world's leading virtual asset exchanges, has been providing convenient and professional virtual asset services to more than 50 million users in more than 160 countries for nearly a decade. At Wobi, their mission is to make crypto accessible, building the go-to hub for the next billion crypto users. Wobi believes crypto shouldn't have any barriers to entry. Wobi is committed to asset and platform security to help you understand risks and make informed decisions to protect you and your assets. Learn more today at wobi.com. I also want to give a shout out to Ledn. Ledn, Bitcoin-backed loans and savings by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. As we've seen, not all digital asset lenders are created equal. Ledn prioritizes safeguarding clients' assets with its robust risk management approach. That is why Ledn doesn't actively trade or invest in DeFi yield generation strategies with its clients' assets, and only supports Bitcoin and USDC, two of the highest quality and most liquid assets in the industry. Ledn is also dedicated to transparency, which is why they are the first digital asset lending company to complete a proof of reserves attestation. Learn more about Ledn at ledn.io. Ledn, where your digital assets come to life. Finally, we want to thank leading VPN provider NordVPN. You know, my grandmother always used to say, show me a man's calendar and his checkbook and I'll tell you everything I need to know about him. That's why I believe it's vital to take control of my online financial activity with NordVPN to protect my privacy. You know, I don't want a browser or some protocol or decentralized app being able to tell where I live and track my financial transactions. We've spoken with the team, and your crypto security is their top priority. You can grab your exclusive NordVPN deal now by going to nordvpn.com/thescoop to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months for free. It's easy to set up, and Nord even gives you a 30-day money-back guarantee. Check out the link in the description for more details. So, what's the sort of sense that you have across the world from which you derive? Do other folks share in your sense of this being important?
Meaning other folks like who? My team here?
No, not these folks.
Other
players.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, every player in the NBA wants a sneaker deal. Every player in the NBA.
But do they want an NFT sneaker deal? is what I'm asking.
I think it would evolve in that. I'm not in the game today, so you're asking a guy to talk about players that he don't even know. So
I'm sure you're
I understand what you're saying,
connected with
but
some of them.
I think every player in the NBA, whether it's NFT or not, they want to be a part of the sneaker world. And if it becomes digital, it makes it even more attractive. But if you got both and you're in the game today, you winning. I'm not in the game today, and I still feel like I'm going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with Scottie more. Look, I mean, I think you're seeing we're in a nascent part of the industry right now, right? This is just taken off. This is the .com of the 90s part 2. So early adopters come in, people, you get people just in it for the money, and you get a bear market. They're gone, they crash and burn, and good riddance to them. And the real players come in, and I don't mean NBA players. I'm talking about players, companies, and people who are visionaries, and they build it out. And as it continues to build, to answer your question, let's go back to the dot swoosh. Do you not think that today's players, whether or not you're playing hoop, or if NFL, Major League Baseball, when dot swoosh, when Nike makes an announcement just a couple of weeks ago that they've got dot swoosh, come on, every single athlete is looking at this space.
Those digital shoes.
Everyone. I mean, I can't tell you how many calls we've gotten on it. And so this is just evolving, and it will continue to evolve. We're just early days.
And does it unlock more value for the athlete?
Yes, I'll tell you why. Because there's no difference in. I'm going to set up Scottie here.
Are you considering me an athlete?
Or for the former athlete?
Yeah, right. Look, this is about a continuation of their brand. You're building a brand now for Scottie Pippen in the world of Web3, and again, there's no difference in the real world shoe that he created.
It could set the foundation for the Scottieverse.
That's right. Pippenverse. So there is no difference. You're talking about a brand extension for Scottie, for other athletes, for other IP. That's where, as a company at Orange Comet is building, we're dealing with massive IP. Walking Dead, Interview with the Vampire, Anne Rice, big studio stuff, massive, iconic, legendary people like Scottie himself. So think about what it does. He has got a huge following. Like, we were just on the floor of the stock exchange. We couldn't, walk through it without him getting mobbed. So those are fans who recognize him. But guess what else the Web3 NFT opportunity is for him? There's a whole new set of, let's call it, kids who never got a chance to see Scottie Pippen play, but now have an opportunity to see his new digital sneaker line, and that exposes them. And we all know that, that kids or a younger generation loves to discover stuff, music.
Totally.
And
there's something that they can unlock about your legacy that's important to you. What sort of elements of your legacy do you think you'd want young folks who are fans of basketball, who play basketball, to know about you through the things you can do in Web3?
Well, I think that is a great question, but, I think that the people at Orange Comet, especially Dante here, is definitely going to bring out my personality. I think he's definitely looked at a lot of the shoes that I wore, the style. One of the shoes today looks like a Bugatti in the back. The shoes that I design a lot with Nike, I built them a lot around Ferraris because I wanted to feel like I was fast. So all those little things that you can sort of help to sell to consumers is going to help. It helps him with his design, but it also helps attract people. But I've been in the shoe world for 30 years, so this is not new to me. I don't feel like I'm reaching out trying to get new fans. I got fans still waiting for me to drop shoes from my Nike days. So this is a perfect scenario for me to get back into the sort of shoe world, but do it from a digital standpoint.
What about
and the ones that turns out great, the ones that we get people to vote on and say, hey, I'd like to see this in a real shoe, and that will probably be the ones that we will take and try and design and make it come to life.
That's interesting. So can you unpack that? Like, how do you get, like, what is the process by which you go from, is it kind of a testing sort of situation where we're trying to figure out which shoe that's in a digital form will be most interesting
and
to...
I don't want to cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
It's sort of the same thing that Nike did for the years that I would design shoes. I mean, I go sit with the designer. My ideals are cool and good and great, but Nike's going to do their research. Does this colorway work? They're going to go to the Foot Lockers and see what color shoeways they want to sell. So my input means a lot, but the reality is the guys that are really designing the shoes know what the consumers want.
Can you just explain a little bit more about that, like that process in the traditional way? They're going to the different stores. How does it work? And
well, I mean, each retailer knows what their consumers want. So if you go to Chicago, they're going to say, hey, red and black. You know what I'm saying? The Bulls are red and black. People here really love that color. They embrace it. But if I say, hey, this next sneaker is coming out, it's going to be mostly a white shoe, then some of the retailers are going to be like, they're going to design their own shoe. Like Foot Locker will take a Scottie Pippen shoe and use their own colorway.
There's a great story. I'll just tell you one thing here about, I'll bring it back to the digital in a second, but, Nike started with their Air Force Ones, and they decided to discontinue that line a few years afterwards, even though it had tremendous success. And there were 3 retailers out of Baltimore, Maryland, that went to Nike and said to them, you can't discontinue this. We can sell these out. And they were able to convince Nike to bring Air Force Ones just to the Baltimore, Maryland retailers. And they became the hottest collections in the world. And by the way, they basically came up with colorways. A color a month is the way that they did it. Because of those retailers, they created the model, the release model, the drop model, as we know it today for all sneaker companies. And to bring that back now into the world of NFTs and digital collectibles for us in our MetaWare with the Scottie Pippen line, we're going to look to see what kind of comments, feedback, what's the community telling us of the 1,000 pieces that we've got out there. What are the ones that they wish they had?
There's part of the difference.
That's right.
It's less about the retailers maybe providing feedback.
It's the
and more
public.
about these individual
That's right.
folks.
And in a community, in a Discord community, and on social media now, where Scottie's sneakers are going to get talked about in the NFT world, we know. He put something up on Twitter when this is how we kind of came about this. He was looking to get into the NFT world, started to be inquisitive about it, posted it on his Twitter, and he had all kinds of people reach out to him.
So that was it? You tweeted something one day? What was the origin there?
Well, I had my guy out of Chicago, his name Adam, put something out and just kind of teasing people about me being
interested in the space.
Yeah, and just kind of getting back relevant, talking about shoes and things like that. Like I haven't did a shoe since the late 90s.
And so when he posted that, by the way, there were a lot of companies, not just us, who reached out and said, look, in fact, he posted Stephen Curry's digital sneaker line and said, these are pretty dope. Not in those words. And, but there were 72,000 views on his Twitter just about that post he put out there. So, and that's the cool thing about, I think, Web3 is the community really is engaged when someone like a Scottie Pippen wants to learn, is inquisitive about it himself, is passionate about trying to do it and figure it out. I think that's one of the great things is that people open their arms up and embrace someone like Scottie. They embraced, Anthony Hopkins, an 84-year-old, iconic actor that would be the last person in the world, you would think. But he is an artist who also wanted his work to be, seen on the blockchain. So I think in our case here, we're going to listen to what that market says. We're going to listen to what the fan base says. We're going to look at the community and let them dictate to us what shoe would they love to see out there that Scottie would do as a real world production shoe, and then go find that partner, whether it's Nike or Under Armour or someone like that.
How do you think they're different chains and the like?
Different chains?
Ethereum versus
Polygon.
Like,
for us at Orange Comet, we're agnostic. We'll go where the project what dictates. What we found is the most success thus far with Ethereum. We've seen about 80% of the buyers and the fans and the enthusiasts to be using Ethereum-based, following Ethereum-based projects. We've had a tremendous amount of success with that. Now with ETH2, early on when we started, a couple of years back, we had some more environmental concerns, wanting, depending on a brand, depending on a personality, somebody was very green in what they wanted to do, and from an energy efficiency standpoint, we would look at a Polygon, which we've done a drop on. We were partnered with Avalanche, which is a great blockchain, but now with ETH2, we think that's kind of given the answer. So if you are concerned about the environment and you're looking for energy efficiency, you can be an Ethereum project and have no problems with that.
This kind of sets a foundation, right? You mentioned there's a potential for, airdropping maybe jerseys or historic moments. Are there any moments when you harken back on your career that you'd think a fan would like to own in their wallet? Like
I love
a specific, because I'm actually helping you out. This is some
you're giving me
business development.
He's only won 6 championships, so let's see what moment.
There's always going to be some ideals and things that people want to go and.
But what for you?
Championship 1, championship 2.
Is there a moment that if you said like this could be turned into an NFT in your career,
and only one person owns it? Like, can you imagine if someone just owned the one shot you made?
How about the dunk over Patrick Ewing?
Yeah, I knew he was good. I knew.
How can I own it? Patrick hates me for that.
I knew you were going there.
Patrick might try to buy it.
He'll probably buy it and destroy it.
Set it on fire if he could.
That'll be the end of that dog.
That's a legendary. That's a legendary. I knew he was going to go there. I thought maybe something else would pop in his mind. But
so, folks who don't remember, maybe walk us through that moment for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
That was a great moment, man. We had some great years, some great rivalries.
What year was that?
94.
So, walk us through it. Tell us about the play.
How'd you feel?
How did I feel? I was great. That was probably my greatest years of playing against the Knicks. I didn't have Michael there taking all the fucking shots. But I had a really good set of guys that I played with. Those guys were, a lot of them had probably brought in 7, 8 guys.
Who's that? Let's go through the team that year.
Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot now. Steve Kerr. Ron Harper.
Steve Kerr at point guard, right?
Steve was...
small forward.
I think Steve may have started at... No, I don't even know if Steve started. I'm going to go with maybe we started Randy Brown.
Ron Harper.
Myself, Tony Kukoc.
Yep.
Or maybe Tony didn't start. Maybe it was Horace and Bill Cartwright.
Horace
94, Horace was gone. So, Horace was going to Orlando. So, it would have been Tony, Bill Cartwright, myself, probably Steve Kerr, Ron Harper.
It was a great team. It was a great team. And, one of the things, the New York Knicks, Chicago Bull rivalry,
was the best.
Sitting here in New York right now with you guys, that was the best.
Yeah.
Tiki Barber is, is part of our company in a lot of ways. He's sits on our advisory board. He does his sports show here on WFAN in New York. And I told him about us working with Scottie, and he said, I want him to come into studio and talk about the Bulls, the Bulls Knicks. That's all.
So how do you capture that in
an NFT?
In an NFT,
well, this
the
one
Bull Knicks rivalry.
We would have to get Dante, our chief creative officer, to actually give a recreation of that moment in a 3D digital commemorative piece, which, by the way, would be, I guarantee he would do something so fucking sick that it would be amazing, because you don't want to. Let me just say one thing, Scottie, on this. Top Shot and Dapper,
which really exploded and then has
right, but it's the opposite of who we are as Orange Comet, and not to slam them anyway, because they did a beautiful job in creating a market, but regurgitating a moment of a play that I just saw or can watch on ESPN tonight or is fine online somewhere else. That doesn't do anything for me at all. I don't think that moves it forward. But to take that moment when Scottie was skying over Patrick Ewing and turn that into a piece of art in a way that would have 3D motion, the way that Dante would do that for us, that would be now its own piece. That would be a moment that you would celebrate, that a fan would buy. A real fan, and by the way, we should do this. A real fan would buy that as a real collectible, and that goes back to the value proposition of what I'm talking about. Not just to buy it to flip it for money, but actually to take that a historic moment, and one that Scottie's actually personally identifying as the greatest moment, certainly one of his greatest moments. He's had many in his career. Imagine doing that in a really cool artistic way. That's where it becomes fun. Go ahead. I cut you off, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, to be able to do that, would you need Patrick to?
Yeah, we probably would need to get his permission for his life.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Maybe we have to give him a little piece of the action.
Not everything is possible in crypto. This is.
We can cut him in. We cut Patrick in. Maybe he'd eat crow again on that shot.
Poor Patrick. I hope he's not listening. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you both for taking the time to come in studio.
We appreciate
to talk about what you guys are working on. What next steps should we anticipate?
Yeah, there is an allow list that we've got, which for anyone who doesn't know what that is, basically grants early access, and so we're actually signing people up to that right now. We just opened it up a few days ago. So it's ScottiePippenNFTs.com. It's all one word, ScottiePippenNFTs with an S.com. You can join the allow list. That gets you an early access to the drop itself on OpenSea. The drop is happening on December 20th, right before the holidays. So it's a great holiday present for yourself or someone else. But it's a start of something for us. We're not looking, we're not about one-offs. We're about building something with Scottie.
How do you create stability, right? Because when you look at the NFT market, so much of it is high, you get the peak and then there's not a lot of stickiness and it kind of subsides.
Yeah, because most of those projects are hype. And you can't.
So we're not hyping this right now.
In fact, I go on the Discord with, Dante.
We're fudding it.
Yeah, no, what Dante and I do on the Discords, and what Young Yam, who's our chief operating officer, oversees a lot of this. What we do is we actually try to downplay the project. We just state the facts, and Dante comes on and he does a dog and pony show and shows the visuals, and that just speaks for itself. So for us, we're not sitting, and we never talk about flipping an NFT and buying low, selling high. I don't want to have one conversation with anybody about looking to make money on our NFTs. That's just not what it's about. Look, again, if people want to, and they have, believe me, they've made a lot of money. That's great. That's it. But as the CEO,
Scottie's like, wait, I'm not making any money on this?
Yeah, like, fuck him out. Scottie's making money.
Build a community.
He's that's right. But we just want to do work that we're really proud of. It will turn into revenue. We know that. We're not a not for profit company. But first and foremost, you've got to make killer work, and the rest will follow. Look, that's how I followed my television career. And again, this is a content game that we're in. People just don't they don't realize it yet.
No, such a good point. Like 90% of crypto related jobs, it's like Disney looking for someone, Marvel or
that's right.
Even the different gaming companies like Hasbro and whatnot. And the phrase that they use and that you see in all these job ads are experiences, storytelling.
That's right.
And in a way, we talked about how a lot of this is sort of creating digital items that can reflect who you are, who you're connected to, whether it's a famed, storied athlete like Scottie, and that you're connected to him to some degree. But it's also just like content and it's storytelling. It's almost
that's right.
It's like film or it's like movies.
Right.
It's like these different things.
I mean, again, you can air this or not. We partnered up with legendary director Barry Sonnenfeld. Barry Sonnenfeld, Men in Black, Addams Family, tons of movies. He created 12 years ago a graphic novel called Dinosaurs versus Aliens. He had me on that title alone. He never could sell it as a Hollywood film, but the visuals were fantastic and the concept behind it is great. And so what we decided to do was take it on as a partnership project, turn it into a Web3 game. The work that Dante did, the dinosaurs are insane looking. I mean, motion graphics like you would not believe. And we're going to be selling those, building it out to a game, and then hopefully going back and knocking on Hollywood's door and turning that into the next Transformers franchise.
Scottie's going to buy one.
We hope Scottie will buy one.
Any closing thoughts, sir?
Before I go, I need you to negotiate that dunk on Patrick with him. Since you got a relationship with him. But no, we appreciate you guys allowing us to come sit on the block today. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you tuning in as well. The Scoop will be back for you with another great guest, or maybe two. Maybe we'll have another former 7-time NBA All-Star on the show. Can you make that happen, Dean?
The only way he's going to get another one on here is bring me back.
Thanks for listening. Looking for more great insights from The Block? Check out The Block Research, the premier platform for research content on crypto markets and the digital asset industry. The Block Research membership includes cutting-edge reports, webinars, company maps, and more, available via our dedicated research portal. Visit theblockresearch.com to find out how to join today, or contact a member of our sales team at sales@theblockcrypto.com and let them know that Frank sent you.